Hi, my name is Jacob Nguyen. I am the co-president and co-founder of the Westlake Academy DECA chapter.
Hi, I'm Thomas Connolly. I'm also the co-founder and co-president of the Westlake Academy DECA chapter.
So our journey with DECA first started my sophomore year when I first came up with the idea of bringing a DECA chapter to Westlake Academy. I was first inspired by my cousin, Matthew Tran, who participated in the DECA at Grapevine. And he talked about like this stock competition that he did, and I got kind of interested because I wanted to learn about stocks, right? And then I was also inspired by my brother who brought his own national chapter to Westlake Academy, which was Mu Alpha Theta. So, I mean, right off the bat, I ran into like immediate troubles. So I started emailing my like administration, asking them like, what was the process of bringing a national chapter to Westlake Academy? Um, like, what could I do this year to get that started up for next year? And unfortunately, like the administration wasn't very helpful because they took a long time to respond, and ultimately, like nothing really came of it because like the prospective teacher that I was looking at for to be the advisor for Westlake Academy DECA, he was really on the fence about it and didn't really respond to me too often. And actually, he never really gave me a definite answer on whether or not he actually advised the club until he left the school. So, other than that, the idea kind of died down over the summer. But at the start of my junior year, I started thinking about it again, and I started looking for someone else that could, work with me to really. I wanted someone else to like work with me and help me to bring DECA to Westlake and bring my dream alive, right? And that's when I met. Oh, I knew Thomas Connolly before, but that's when I started talking about with Thomas.
Yeah, so Jacob came up to me at the start of junior year, and he told me about DECA. I'd previously known about DECA just because I came from Keller, and that's a really big deal over there. But it was his idea to bring it to Westlake Academy, and I thought it was a super good idea, and I was honestly like ecstatic about the idea because I'm super interested in business. That's what I want to pursue for my career, and I'm obviously enthused to learn about anything like that, and to take that leadership role. I was really interested in doing so. So one of the first things that we did, we started doing a ton of research. I mean, at the start, we really wanted to know what we were getting ourselves into and to build a strong foundation to kind of launch the club, which we were hoping to do at the end of the first semester. We basically went through all the DECA bylaws. We went through the constitution that they had, the manual book that they had, everything from membership to competition to advisors. We went through it all. And then once we kind of had a really good grasp of, what DECA was and how we could bring that to Westlake Academy, that's when we started, interviewing advisors that we had at our school. We were rejected by, one or two advisors just because it's a pretty big role. But eventually we landed on Miss Doak, who's perfect because she's actually the 11th and 12th grade business teacher. So after that, after we found our advisor, we jumped right into the paperwork. And there was quite a bit of paperwork just because DECA is a national organization. So there's a lot of applications and requirements that you have to meet before you can open up a chapter, an official chapter at your school. So we went through, did more research on how we could apply for that. And then we basically went through all the paperwork. Took us about, I'd say, about a week or 2 weeks to actually get through it all. Because again, we also had to, this is technically a club under Westlake Academy, so then we also had to register as a club for Westlake Academy and organize, our finances for that because we have split basically our dues. Part of our dues go to the school to pay Miss Doak and just for club registration, and then the other half goes to the DECA organization. So we went through all of that, and in the meantime, we obviously there was quite a few troubles that we went through. So to start off, starting the DECA organization, and after we actually had some members under our belt and under our delegation, we decided to jump right into a service project, which in itself, obviously, a service project is a great thing. But I don't think it was, like Jacob and I agree, it wasn't exactly the best move for us going to start off with. Because literally, I think in our first or second meeting, we introduced a food drive. And at that time, we had a full roster of members, but it was still kind of like sketchy. I think what we should have started with was really like introducing the club and starting with icebreakers so that everyone kind of knew each other and the club could kind of become more cohesive within itself. Because starting off with a food drive, it's kind of hard for people to be like, bring donations to a club that they don't really know anything about.
Yeah, and on top of that, like, our planning, our logistics for the food drive were kind of in shambles. Like, first of all, our meeting schedule was very erratic, and when the club first started, because there were a lot of weather concerns, and school got canceled a lot of times. So, like, by consequence, DECA got canceled too after schools. So there were a lot of in betweens between meetings where people forgot certain dates, people forgot certain things that we talked about. So, and we, as officers, we didn't really do a good job of trying to remind them of the food drive. And also we kept changing the date because there was no weather. We kept changing the date of when the food drive was, and we weren't really properly communicating that to our members. So I'm sure like they got confused about that too. And in terms of where to store the donations and where for even the students to bring them, we weren't totally clear about that. So I'm sure many students didn't really know what to do about that, so they didn't donate. So yeah, it really wasn't our best idea, but we really learned a lot from it. And right now we're focusing on, like what Thomas said, icebreakers, trying to get to know our members as like people, because we're such a small chapter right now, like not including us two. There are about 25 members in our.
And we wanted to take kind of advantage of that because at larger schools, you have a few people and as officer positions, and then you can delegate to hundreds of kids, and then you don't really get to know people on a name to name basis, know like what their interests are or what they want to do. And I think that's kind of an advantage actually for our club is we have 24 people, so we can actually know people name to name. I can know this kid and know what he wants to do in college or what he wants to do for his career, and we can actually shape our curriculum or shape what we want to do with the club based off of who our members are.
Right. And then also definitely when you're starting your chapter out or you're starting your club out, definitely do your researches about finances. Finances are super important to your club because you want to keep all your money in order, right? So we made a huge mistake at the start of when we first started the club, and we thought that the fee for each member the chapter due to the National Association was only $8 per member and $8 per advisor. But later on, we found out when we were registering all our members with the National Association, there's actually an $8 fee to the National Association and an $8 fee to your state association. And that changes from state to state. So be sure to research what your state requires you to pay for your chapter. And then since Thomas and I were pretty inexperienced in starting our own club, we met with a member's father who starts his own business, and he's a big entrepreneur, and that's our member Andy Huang, which he'll be featured in the next couple of videos talking about our Constitution. But he gives a lot of information about how to run our club as if it was like a business. So first we want to focus on our governance, creating a strong leadership body. Your leadership body is probably your most important thing you want to develop early on. You want students who are obviously good people. They're driven. They want the club to succeed. They just don't want it for their college applications because they're just going to do the bare minimum. They're not going to show up. They're not going to really do what needs to be done to make the club something great.
Yeah, so Andy's dad, he actually owns and operates two companies. One is a software company, and then the other, he basically comes in and he revamps companies to make them more profitable, which is perfect. Meeting with him, we needed some help in how to shape our direction of our club. And so he actually, to kind of dive into what he told us, he put a ton of emphasis on your brand. So having a good brand for your organization is extremely important because we were honestly kind of relying on word of mouth because we are at such a small school. We kind of just we're people will just understand that DECA's a club. But having a really good logo and then having social media accounts, having your own email account, you really want to separate yourself, and that kind of officializes your club, if that makes any sense. So that kind of helps people they're kind of more grasped or towards that club.
All right, anything else? I think I'm nothing else to talk about. So in our next video, I think it'll be Andy Huang. He'll be talking about writing our constitution. That's also a very important part. You want to create a good constitution that lays the groundwork for your club, because that sets the precedent for the future of your club. Because after you're gone, that's pretty much your legacy.
And that's something that each member can look at, and that kind of gives grounds to any decision that you make. You kind of have that constitution to look back towards.
All right. You good?
Yeah, that's
All
good.
right. Take his first video.